becomes much more difficult to sort of hold on to.
Well, that was a change in pace. I was about to say things have slowed down, and then instantly, Ping and Ghost will go for the jump. And that is right in their favor. Let's take a look at Ping's POV here. Yeah, he just noticed for Stroke he had turned around, left his back open, and did not pause at the opportunity.
Former duos now fighting against each other. Pink and Vico. And this is a very tough spot to be in for both of these teams because, again, Vico, Malabuka, just having to really get a taste of success in that last lobby. But for Pink and Hariz, sticking a little bit more towards middle of the pack area, and they're trying to break that mold.
Yeah, and I don't know how much longer Pink's going to be able to hold this wall. I don't think he's gone to boot camp in Germany for this one, and so eventually Vico is going to just take it. You don't let him have it, but holding on only does so much. It's going to be more about the damage than it is holding on to your builds in a fight against Vico.
Both teams, though, starting to realize that they're getting tagged from other players off in the distance, making the affair a little bit more complicated. One misstep can be a bit of a doozy here. Don't want to find yourself losing all of your shield before you even get into that immediate box fight position against who's right in front of you. But Hariz and Pink still forcing Vico and Malabuka to stick around a little bit longer here. Both of these teams likely going to be forced into finding some closure here eventually, because this is very likely going to be the surge battle that carries them through the mid game.
We'll take a look at how Focus has this one elimination. Oh, let's not replay that one back. I think for Kiwi's sake, I think they'll appreciate if we never show that again. Of course, we saw those two teams fighting in the previous game, but the key thing is Thomas and Focus in that previous game didn't have the best of times, right? Obviously, the zone pulled very far to the north, so we know they struggle sometimes on those far pulls.
Bertini and Shark, a little look into what went right for them at the very beginning of this match, but still more to sort of contend with here. X-Force Bevies now stepping up to the plate and delivering some pretty big swings here. Shark forced to fall back. He's going to have to leave it in Teeny's hands to see whether or not they can even extend this fight any longer. And Teeny with a big answer back, but it's so short-lived. Now down to Shark to decide, can he deliver on yet another huge solo clutch instance, but with so little HP to work with. Bevies trying to force his way into where Shark is at. He knows just how injured, how weak he is, but Shark doing everything in his power to still hang toe-to-toe with Bevies. And that last shot going to be enough. The shield crack will force Bevies to reconsider just how desperate he wants to be, trying to take these big swings up against the likes of Shark. But Shark one more time, now ready to go on the offensive. He's had his opportunity to heal. Bevies, similar stature, but no one able to find the winning angle just yet. But for Shark and Teeny, this is still just enough of a slowdown in the pace.
X-Force and Bevies did everything right to begin that one. And then you make the play of jumping in and 50-50ing Teeny, and he just punishes you. And from there, it was just not happening for them. The second you make it an even 1v1, respect to Bevies, but I think everybody watching this is taking Shark every day of the week in that scenario. And that's so tough. You saw the second he realized, wait, this is Shark and Teeny we just are fighting. He was like, yeah, I mean, Shark's healed up. I'm not trying to fight him. He instantly went for the overdrive nade to get away. I think that tells you everything you need to know. Shark and Teeny will remain in this one. Axels and Bevies will not.
It's a tough break, but at least they know they'll still have a couple more lobbies before the day is over. Interesting quick stat on display there for Sky and Scroll. Something they've been notorious for in past tourneys has just been the solo clutch points that they've been able to accrue at one point or another. But here in today's competition, they have done an excellent job at just making sure that they stay together throughout the full process. Pink Haris, though, still tagging along in this endeavor against Malabuka and Vico. Both of these teams just finding themselves going deeper and deeper northwest of the map, navigating all the way back towards the vending machine, which is the initial starting point, to be fair, for Vico and Malabuka. So Pink and Haris, they've got to be rather cautious here. Some of these pre-existing might just be their demise at the end of it all. And the way the elimination feed is starting to light up, have to expect that Malabuka found exactly what he was hunting for all along. His Yanis and Rex closing in slowly but surely.
Yeah, this one's, again, a matter of time. They just have to play the waiting game, really. Bit of counter fire, but yeah, you don't have to jump in and rush in too quick. If you're Axe, you can allow Janice to get back involved and look for a pinch again. And that will be that.
Plenty of endings too for this duo to be able to get some heals going, but to look back at what Malabuka have been cooking, unfortunately, Pink on the grill here. Malabuka finds a nice elimination, but now that's going to leave Aris to sort of figure out where exactly is even going to be the escape path, because got to try and make a play for the reboot, but you also have to try and avoid the line of sight there from Vico and Malabuka, who know that you're in that solo position, so they can just gatekeep you from actually being able to make it any sort of fluid rotations. Savage, truly, also on the lookout. 367 above, though, so pretty successful day so far.
Yeah, but the day's not finished. Job's not done. Let's not get complacent now. It's only game number 4. Still so many points left up for grabs. And I think you're feeling that urgency, at least from Vico and Malabuka here, as they look to try and close this one out. Haris will jump, skip, hop. It won't be enough. Malabuka will get the seconds. And now, way above on surge for these two. And even though we aren't getting that super far North Pole, you would like to think that they are set up still to have a decent game.
It beats some of the cross-country paths they've had to take, at least with the South Zone pool. So definitely have to see if that bodes any better luck for them here in this game. Huddy and Fishy just constantly sending it up that wonky wheel, but for Cringe and Volko, trying to capitalize. They need to get this elimination onto Fishy. They know that this is the half of the duo that certainly can pose a bigger threat in terms of a 180 scenario, but with Fishy now going down, Huddy left to try and play out his medkits. Both of these teams realizing the fact that with the way that this Allspawn has sort of dragged on, Volko and Cringe certainly leaving a little better still for it. But Volko will suffer the fall damage. The chop actually successful, and Huddy, despite everything else, you would think that it would just be coast is clear, or right off into the distance, and yet Huddy with an excellent chop. The fall damage into just being so forced into becoming target practice there. could see where things went south. Cringe actually going to be the one to ultimately chop down his duo. A bit of a heartbreaking scene. He thought that it would lead to an easy elimination cleanup on Huddy. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication there in the call, but certainly a bit of a sour outcome for those two.
What a blunder. I mean, game number 4, we got to start to lock back in, my friends. Can't afford to make mistakes like that one, and it's one that will be a sore mistake because the reality is Cringe and Volko have been the better duo on the day, and they've been looking much better than Putty and Fishy have, but now giving those guys a bit of room to start their recovery journey. Sires and Scary, we saw their misfortunes up on height not long ago, and they need to right those wrongs. But that starts with getting into the zone, and it's not easy to do. You can see all the players in the zone around them. And now that they're split, Maldus in between, Sires is going to have to try and get back to his teammate unscathed, which I don't think will be the easiest of tasks. Scary does well to get the damage, just tick them above on the Storm Surge threshold.
Very in a very awkward position, trying to make his way across. Fortunately, won't take any additional damage from Scary there, but very maybe even experiencing what it's like, the taste of your first FNCS Grand Final set lobby. And it can be as difficult as ever for those starting to build up on the experience tree here. But even Scary and Saez saw them pop off in the Major 1 Grand Finals. Major 2, though, could be a slightly different setting. It's Flixie hoping that he can actually get a shot against Nosif, but that dream will be cut short. The whole lobby now looking back at what's been taking place here. And for Flixie and Nosif, there will be a conclusion. Flixie might even be able to make his way into this next edge of zone, but it's just a bit heartbreaking to know he'll have to forfeit Chap. Can't play for the revive, not with the entire lobby already looking his direction.
Yeah, and again, another tough spot for this duo. The spot we don't like to see them in. But one, unfortunately, feels like they've been faced with so many times this year. Question marks will be asked. But we'll save that for after today. For here in game number 4, you can see the lobby shaping up. You see the rotations coming through. Truly and Mrs. Savage will get to zone earlier than most, but won't look to play height like they did in game 1. Not quite having the resources maybe to do that. Mats will be dropped to Mr. Savage to put him in a much stronger spot, but there's other teams above them already now. If they want to play height, it's going to have to come later.
Truly a bit on the prowl there, though. Almost seems like he was trying to set up for a pre-edit instance even. Ju, maybe need to watch his next step. Doesn't know who might be lurking on the other end of things. Sky Scroll, though, 360 above. They've managed to make it towards this next front side. Not only that, but a little bit of hillside control, too. They aren't the only ones looking to try and utilize a bit of height to their advantage. Hari, Cammy breaking through. Also going to start traversing their way forward. But Polo and Godoy, actually seemingly some of the first. Teeny Shark, though, disaster striking yet again and one more time. Ball's in Teeny's court for whether or not he'll be able to get another deep endgame run here. We saw him do it in the last lobby. The solo clutch points certainly began to factor in and put them into that top 10 contention, even on the leaderboard. But still, Evan, this is just not the sort of place that you would expect these two to be in.
Yeah, and this is the problem that analysts have been highlighting with them. Well, I'm going to switch focus for a second, Taco, because this is something so many people were expected to see more of. Marius and Fredoxy set up to play height, but they are down on Surge. They have no materials to hold on. They blocked their own overdrive, and Fredoxy will go down. Marius will quickly look to follow him, I think, back to the lobby. Will jump in the box, but there's nothing he can do, and just like that, the height take is over.
We knew that they were going to be a team that wanted to psycho height, but let's not factor that one into the count. Let's see whether Production Medias can get recovery point maybe in game number 5. Still, thoughts in the right place. Vico, Malabuka going to get cut short here on the rotation, and that's going to be Malabuka's downfall even, as now Vico left to sort of sift through these varying layers. Does find a little bit of wiggle room here, separate from the rest of the lobby, but Twy and Cringe directly underneath them. How long can he really hold down a frontside position? So many of these healthier teams kind of surrounding him, and Twy, Cringe even willing to tank a little bit of these storm ticks if it means being able to actually claim some of this frontside positioning here. Is Savage truly one elimination, but they're going to need plenty more if they actually want to put themselves in a contending position here. But now it's all down to Mr. Savage. Truly won't be able to make it back where his IGL was at. His Vico still doing everything in his power to keep trekking forward.
The high chops will come through. It won't go uncontested. Mr. Savage will quickly fall. But there are still players in this lobby who will look for it. Hellfire and Winter on second height there will look. Teeny as a solo, I don't think will be in contention to take it, but he might just cause problems for some of the different teams in the layers around him. Quickly gets wiped out as they spot the threat. And so now, some of our top dogs, some of our top players will look to continue to build on their leads. Unfortunately for Pixie, he'll go down, and that leaves Swizzy in another clutch situation.
And Swizzy gonna just barely manage to switch to a slightly higher layer, but he's still deep in the thick of it and won't be able to make his way out. Just cut short by another team already in the mid ground. Sky Scroll though, front side, low, leading the charge. Cammy, Hari just one layer above them, but for Sky and Scroll, a little bit more fixated elsewhere.
Yeah, and Sky and Scroll do well here to get the elim, but their biggest threat is going to be Cringe and Twy, who are controlling a lot of the front side of the zone right now. Cringe and Twy quickly will look to stagger their rotation, and you see right there, instantly go and claim that space that Sky and Scroll like to occupy. And so there will be a fight that breaks out between them soon. You've got to think. Cammy and Hari will stay second height though. They look to be the biggest threats to Polo and Godoy.
Interestingly enough though, Sky Scroll, they've managed to overtake, but Twy, Cringe still working their way forward. Overdrive ready to try and head straight into battle, but Hari, Cammy, somehow, some way, making it up towards height from the low ground. Still, they need a refresh. They need a little bit more material to work with here. Cammy is just claiming whatever space he can find up above. He knows he's got to start applying some pressure to some of these duos underneath. They're going to need every little bit of these teams clashing with each other, just putting them in that slightly leading favor as Scroll, the great refresh there, going to be able to reconvene with Sky, and these two are looking to really draw this one out up against the likes of Cammy and Hadi. Ari now going to start to drop, doesn't have any material, so he'll try to play whatever angles he can find, but you can't forget about where Cammy is at, trying to play that little bit of distraction for a while. Cringe healing through it, waiting, poised to strike, staring down this mess unfolding right in front of him, and he sees the first knock that's taken place. Hari has been taken out. Cringe now going to look to strike. First shot doesn't connect, but he gets the second on the Sky. Still 1v1 showdown, and Scroll bringing it all the way back. Cammy did everything right up until he had to fight it out at the very last moments there. Another big congratulations though for Sky and Scroll 11. They are coming alive.
Once again, the solo almost made that a much scarier situation, but Sky and Scroll will be more than happy with the output.
Yet again, Sky and Scroll doing this as a duo. This is not something we got to see in the heat, but now we're seeing why this duo was the duo to beat at the start of the year. They are showing up big time, Takata.
They were getting us worried throughout, the start of this major. People are like, oh, they don't have Boulevard anymore. Their strat's not going to work. They just relied on that strat. It's not going to happen. But Minnie, the consistency is back. This is what we're used to seeing with Sky and Scroll topping the charts. Leaderboard has been incredibly close throughout the whole day. Sky Scroll pushed themselves into first place after the last win. Now they got a back-to-back. I'm sure they're going to be flying up.
They're looking so good. I mean, these guys are absolutely popping off right now. They're the only team really that's got that sort of semblance of consistency. It seems like so many of our other teams are having really good games, and they're not so good games. It's kind of topsy-turvy, ups and downs at the moment. But Sky and Scroll doing what they do best in multiple different ways as well. Of course, we saw them on height. This time we saw them on those low to mid-ground layers. And even the way that, of course, Twine Cringe took that low ground. Levin mentioned it on the cast. They went straight down to the front side, took it really effectively in that position. You'd think, yeah, they're the players that are in the driving seat in that position. Sky and Scroll just absolutely wiped them out of that position and said, no. Twy went down, and of course, Cringe caused a lot of chaos at the end. But you have to think the Cammy and the Hari have to win that game, surely, I suppose. But Sky and Scroll, they do it again.
It was an absolute masterclass, wasn't it, Takata?
It really was. The most consistent duos throughout this day have been Sky Scroll, I Drop Gonzo, Cringe, Twy. Issue is, I Drop Gonzo went down very early in that last match, 40-something. So they've been cut off on that consistency talk. Cringe, Twy, Sky Scroll are now the ones going head-to-head. But Cammy Hari, despite that one little hiccup game 2 with the 16th, have also been looking incredibly strong. And we are just getting started, Minnie.
This is so good. The Sky and Scroll, look at the way they're operating here. Look at the way they're playing these low ground layers. This is exactly as we'd expected them to do in terms of this major. Lovely shot there from Scroll. Then Cringe is the one that causes all sorts of problems in the back. Nearly spoiled it all for Sky and Scroll. Remember, he did that earlier. I think it was for Fast Roki and Noah Rayleigh earlier on when it was, I think, Swizzy and Pixie that ended up winning the game. So he's causing all sorts of problems, but great game from them. But Sky and Scroll, these guys are really coming alive right now, and they're coming alive in lots of different ways as well. They're not just playing their one strategy. They're not just sort of relying on one way of playing. They're adapting, which is great to see as well.
I wish we could listen in on their player comms, because I'd just be fascinated to hear how they're communicating that end game, how they're choosing which fights to go for, how to isolate those 1v1s and share the spoils. But whose day did they spoil? Well, quite a few of our duos. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back to talk about the leaderboard.
And so now, Seti, Kanza, Yakko looking to remind the rest of the competition that they are in it for the win. It's Pixie, it's Marius, and Vanya. If they want the win, this is the moment. We know what is in front of them, and they want to take it by force. They already have second place locked in. It's all.
I got here with that one more. I'm popping magic. Wait, sure. Got 6 builds? No, wait, if you're mid, wait. 100! 100! Oh my god! Look! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
Sky and Scroll are starting to dominate the rest of this lobby. They have shown so much consistency today, and they've got themselves 2 victory royales back to back, no less. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and catch up with the other duos in contention. Takati, you were just talking about the fact that Sky and Scroll, they are the only duo that's managed to place within the top 10 of every game. But we've got a couple of duos who, apart from one outlier, are certainly still managing to perform. And one of those duos is Cami and Hari. The last couple of end games, we have seen these guys truly step up.
Yeah, we talked about back-to-back wins from Sky and Scroll. Cami and Hari got back-to-back second places, Minnie. I mean, you can't get much more consistent than that. All that's left is the win.
Yeah, all that's left is a win for these guys, but they'll be more than happy with how today has gone so far. Of course, that drop spot that they had, uncontested, the Cami split looking really strong off spawn at the moment, as well as making it to these end games. And this is exactly where these guys just know how to play these end games. Both of them have so much experience, and it was really unfortunate, of course, that they didn't qualify straight to the global championships from the summit. So it's really nice to see them actually popping off right now, almost guaranteeing them a spot at the summit if they keep this level of gameplay up. Yeah, to be honest, they're just performing incredibly well, making those end games successfully. They've only had one bad game that's outside of the top 10, but exactly what you'd expect really from a team of this quality.
And Cringe and Twy, I think that we expected them to do well, especially after picking up that valuable experience at Summit. But I don't know if anyone expected them to do this well, Mini Miner. They're able to take risks in the end game, and it's able to pull them off. They have an average placement of 6 after 4 games.
Wow, yeah, they're just absolutely popping off right now. I know a lot of people would have looked at their off-spawn situation, looked at the drop map on paper and thought, oh, yeah, contested, not looking good. But as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that actually gives them a buff. They're so good at that drop spot. They're absolutely wiping Radion and his team that are there at the moment. And even as far as just solo clutching here, we've seen Cringe do it in a couple of games right now, just giving them that extra little bit of juice in these games to make it through as much as they have been so far. They are the highest eliminator, or the second highest eliminator in the lobby as well, behind Sky and Scroll. So everything seems to be falling into place for them right now.
Yeah, it's kind of what we were predicting in the pre-show in terms of them doing well while contested. And we talked about Cami Hari back-to-back seconds. This one isn't back-to-back, but Cringe Twy have 2 third places now as well. So we got double thirds, double seconds, and then double firsts from a 3-2-1 on the leaderboard right now.
They're a team that's clearly refined their game plan, expected to be contested, knowing and understanding what they need to do to get to the end game. And I do have questions about Shark and Teeny, whether they're able to do that in a stacked grand finals lobby, because Mini Miner, we saw this early game fight with Axe Force and Bevies, and even though Shark found himself in a solo situation, he decided to pursue Bevies across the map and waste valuable time. And I wonder if that's impacting them now in their late games.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's not something that we've necessarily associated with these guys. We've associated them with sort of being able to wipe through teams really quickly. Of course, big credit to Shark here for actually turning this around. I said when we were in the back watching this, he's 16 HP. They are going to go down right here. I did not expect this from Shark, despite the fact his name is Shark. I really should have expected it probably, but the way he took down Bevies right here at the end, the way he turned that fight around when things were looking bleak was really impressive. But like you mentioned, Frankie, it does set their game back a little bit. It does mean that they are a little bit later going into the zone. We've seen them have to reboot a couple of times today as well. And then they're a team that, you know, needs to rely on those refreshes earlier on in the end game, Takata, to actually give them that juice to make it through the rest of the game as well.
And to be fair, they're a team that can get those refreshes early on and can play extra aggressive, but you want to set yourself up for those late mid games. They excel at finishing fights quickly. That's what they did throughout all the qualifiers, the heats, but it's much more difficult in grand finals. They have what it takes to do it, but it's taken a bit too long to close these fights out. They're getting through the mid games and not really setting themselves up for the best position to play them out. And it's just not really going their way. They haven't got top 10 once today. Despite that, they're still top 10 on the leaderboard. So maybe they get a big day too, or maybe they close today off in a very positive way.
Mini Miner, do you think that's what we're going to see? Final 2 games are looking much stronger for these guys. Or do you think they need overnight to VOD review and just work things out?
I think the vaudeville really helped, and I think Teeny will be really good at that. Sort of looking back, we've sort of seen big comebacks from Teeny in the past, and different strategies that he's sort of been cooking up. I think that the main issue for them right now is that Sky and Scroll just seem to be so consistent. I think the rest of the lobby not having that consistency, having a bit of a rocky road in a lot of the games kind of benefits them, because they're finding all those eliminations, which keeps them in the top 10, and nobody else is really running away with it. But if Sky and Scroll continues to have the performances that they are, it might just be too far away for Shark and Teeny to take.
All right, we've got 2 more games left tonight, so let's get into them with Levin and Taco.
We have 2 more games, like Frankie just said, and the excuses. You can't be running the excuses anymore. You've had the chance to feel out the lobby in the first 4 games. You now have to make changes or try and do things to keep the lead you have on the lobby so far in this EU Grands, Taco.
It's just so tough because when you look back at the leaderboard that's already started to accrue, Sky, Scroll, 2 victory royales here in day 1. The only duo to have that level of success so far in this major grand finals. And it's just tough because you're trying to match their pace. You're trying to play catch up as well with everyone else in the lobby, and you don't have many matches left to do it. So with game 5, let's see what happens next.
What we see in these next 2 games may determine how likely we are for the potential back-to-back FNCS major champions for Sky and Scroll here in EU, or whether there is another team, a newer team, newer names who look to show that they are worthy of the prize. Here, Cringe and Twy, Taco, I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting to do this. But boy, does it feel good to have a UK team fighting on top. I mean, I'd love to see these 2 young stars finally make their mark. 2 players who have been around in EU for some years now. 2 players who have shown signs of potential over the years. But here in this major, I think we're really seeing them grow into top talents.
And I want to more on that in a moment here. First, we got to see what's been taking place at Sinister Strip. For Pablo Chino, just a mess. Dealing with Wi-Fi and Boris. I mean, good on them to finally be the ones to make a statement and come out on top. But the last couple of lobbies, 11, ever since the first match of the day, really, for Chino and Pablo, ever since they got surprise contested, that second place placement immediately disappeared. And having to experience that back-to-back of being eliminated so early on, they have a long road to recovery set out in front of them. Game 5 could be a great starting point, though, just to make sure they don't leave off on the day in too rough of a position.
Yeah, and of course, iDrop went down last game, so as we saw, he's still up in this game this time around. Still an opportunity to continue to fight for the top of the leaderboard now for them. For Strokey and Noah Riley, this off spawn has been quite messy all throughout the day. I think quite personal as well, I'm sure.
A little bit of peekaboo there with the Strokey, but Noah Riley gonna be the one with the closing punches as Ping and Ghost taken out.
Yeah, Noah Riley just has the angle advantage on him. The jump shot as well behind the wall is so tough to deal with if you are Ping.
Nice little check-in with what Vico and Malabuka have been getting up to. That initial elimination, though, onto Winther has put Hellfire in a bit of a predicament, to say the least, just hiding out in this little shack, hoping that Vico and Malabuka don't figure out where exactly he's trying to tuck away, but Vico will discover exactly where Hellfire is at. He's on the look, and Vico actually brought down. Fortunately, Malabuka able to play saving grace here, but a little bit of damage against them in terms of Surge. Still, ultimately, 2 eliminations to boot. It's got to lead them off on the right foot still.
Hellfire there for a moment, rolling the years back, but Malabuka bringing him back to reality. Of course, 2 players who have fought against each other for many years now here in EU. It will be the Summit champs who reign on top of that battle. So Inox and Velo We did pose the question to them after Mr. Savage and Truly's hot start of were they gonna, you know, fall behind and lose control of that rivalry? Boy, did they shut me up. They have performed very well so far today, and still plenty more opportunities to pick up some points, which I'm sure they will. Currently sitting in 6th place, desperately trying to make sure they secure a spot for the Global Championship.
Still a scary spot to be in, though, just knowing that Cringe and Twy on the move. Meanwhile, tucked away, waiting for that reboot opportunity. Cluster Coast, though, still not completely settled, as Medius and Fredoxy have decided to throw their names into the bunch, as Podesai, Sato also looking to see whether or not they can finally get a little bit of a rhythm going here in this 5th game, but still held at bay here. They know that Fredoxy and Medius are still trailing just behind them, but the further in that they go, the more likely they are to encounter the likes of Frostroki and Noah Riley, for example, and that could be a whole different problem.
Yeah, and the reality is both those duos have had probably quite the day to forget, right? And so they'll be looking to make the most out of these last 2 games. And you might just have to start cannibalizing some of the other people at the bottom of the leaderboard to try to give you the boost, the leg up. Talk about these two, though. Taco, I mean, what a day so far. Completely shutting up any question marks about whether or not these guys were still at the top of their game.
But it is still a bit funny when you really boil it all down, because Sky and Scroll, I'm not going to say that they were looking like a shell of themselves, but there was definitely a bit of a stretch post-Summit where we saw them encounter their first share of struggles. The Divisional Cup performances weren't handing out the way that they were intending. Probably biggest highlights leading into this Grands weekend may have even come from their instances in recent Evaluation Cup finals, but even then, it's just such a different landscape compared to Grand Final set lobby. And Shark, always on the lookout. Big elimination here onto Badil right now, cutting short any sort of momentum that Badil and Ju might have started building up here. And it's an even tougher break when you factor in that Ju, he's right there in their surge base, center map exactly on the 0 point. So you have to wonder, how exactly did Shark manage to sneak up on his duo so successfully at the vending here? And Badil just no opportunity.
No, not my boy Badil. I hate it had to be you, Badil, but you know, just another one to add to the Shark highlight reel. Great piece control coming through. The exact type of thing you expect to see from Shark. Hopefully we can start to see a bit more of it, but in endgames, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
I think there's plenty of people right now wondering where Shark and Teeny have been at in a lot of these endgame instances, but still can't put it past them. Come alive in the final hours. It's Plixie, Chap. We've got Ivan on the run, and bear in mind what we witnessed just a couple lobbies ago with Ivan and Hizix, I believe, that we're sort of holding Chap and Flixie at bay. And again, was that just starting point kicking the hornet's nest? Because Flixie and Chap, they've already got their spot locked in for globals. This is all about prize pool contention and preventing anyone from trying to encroach on their space. They already know that there's going to be other regions in the mix, obviously, for the global competition. So whoever they can prevent from EU, that's going to be the starting point.
This is a team I know you were very excited for going into the competition today, Taco. You told me you had high hopes of an MVP-like performance from Hari. And even though I'm sure there are many people before today who would have heard you say that and thought, what on earth is the best Taco on about? So far, these guys are not proving you wrong whatsoever. These guys are playing at a level I think we haven't really seen from them so far this year.
And I really do just want to emphasize on the fact that Cammy and Hari, they have certainly been utilizing their time incredibly well to come up with these sorts of methods that would put them in such strong endgame positions. But not only that, even when they're not in the best kind of spot in the endgame, they still manage to convert it just off of strong elimination presence from Hari. They haven't had high elimination counts at the end of these lobbies, which is probably one of the only reasons why we don't see them immediately in that top contention. But for first place at least, but at the same time, Lev, multiple seconds, they are clearly hot on the heels of Sky and Scroll. And it is definitely going to be a very tight matchup. They can continue to deliver.
Yeah, somebody has to be the ones to step up and stop those guys from building up an unreachable lead. Last major, it was Chino and Pablo that took up that mantle, right? And, you know, most people predicted Sky and Scroll to win, and it looked that way all throughout, but at least Chino and Pablo made you doubt. It made you think, what if? Just about who's going to be the team to do that here in this major at this rate.
Checking back in. Medius and for Doxy. Another little bit of a vending scuffle, they know. Team close by. Ox, Kiro, who have had a slightly better day comparison to Medius and Doxy. They don't want to find them on the receiving end of any form of plus. Don't want to get stopped in your tracks in the last couple of games. Be a bit of a...
Yeah, and I think this has been disappointing from Fred and Marius just because in recent weeks they've really started to just actually show quite a bit that was inspiring. I think both of them have obviously had pretty rough years so far. Marius how 2026 competitive has gone for him. But I thought we've seen some other cups. It just felt like they were going to rock up into Grands today and just really re-establish why they are two top names in Denmark. Currently being outshined by plenty of other top dames though in this lobby who have been impressing quite a fair amount. Rax and